Hello everyone, I hope you are doing well. So today is the last part where I show you how I was able to create an entire CRM with DataButton. This is a no-code tool that has the power, which simply allows us to create any software, any CRM so there you go, online. There you go. A free account that I was able to do it with this website. There. So if this is the first time you're watching the video, I invite you to first check the link there, to go to the first video, to understand the steps, to progress, to achieve the result, and create the CRM. Our CRM today, in the end, is a bit of a preview of the final CRM. You need to see all the down steps that have been addressed, worked on properly, and we will see a complete CRM today, where there is simply the functionality here to calculate the score and calculate and generate a strategy. Thanks to artificial intelligence, all of this was actually done with a connection to a fail-based database. And of course with an API that, with OpenAI, so all the details, we will see them in this kind of video. I thank you and wish you a good training. So here, it corrected the errors. So here, if I click there to see a little bit of the result on contact, you will see when I click on edit. By the way, I see that all the information is taken into account. That's very good. I can put here in the summary the client, which is very important in this summary. Here we must include all the information. The client wants, for example, to do the SEO of their website. Afterwards, of course, we can improve it by including the entire history. So with the different information I will save if I click on view. There you go. I also find all the information. So for me, here, I would like to ask him. In fact, look, I will tell him here to add it in the table to display more information. So it's very important. Well, I can specify what the information is. So the information that I want, that is added. So the tag, I would like to add the tag. And I would like to include the position and the date of the last communication method, and the date. So these are the pieces of information I want to add, so I will tell him add. In the part table of contacts, or not, we add display rather, pay attention to the word. So here we say display in the table, so of contacts. Here I will put a colon, draw, tag, comma, then of method of communication, and the date of communication. I would also like to add the position of that person. It's important. Position, there, I launch. I would have preferred to add a screenshot, but I think he will understand. If he doesn't understand, we can add a screenshot of the page in question, but normally he understood what it's about. So there, what is he telling me? And yes, we will tell him, yes, I want. So there, he's asking if I want to add. In fact, here are the titles. The columns, in fact, to the table, the description. So there, he gives me a little bit of the information they want to do. Yes, so we will tell him yes, actually create this task. So then there, you see there, in fact, he wrote an entire task. Well, I should have told him better not to create a new task, but well, and to execute it right here. But for him, in fact, he saw that it's interesting. There you go. So there, he put it into a whole task. No worries, actually. We will tell him. So there, with him, we will work on the design. I can even actually send him an old design as an attachment, telling him to follow this design or do it. So for me, I focus on the technical side. I will let him do that. And then I can tell him to improve the design. Actually, from this table, well, the display, we add colors and everything. We just tell him to display it in a modern way, for example, and then he will do it. So for me, what I will do is actually let him work on it. Afterwards, we will test it together. So the display, there you go, the update. It's finished, by the way. Now he's asking me if I want to complete task 9. And first of all, let's take a look at the display. We're going to contact, I think that it's more, there you go. So he added the post, and I like that. So he understood that the post needs to be placed here. He added the tag. He added the method, the date, and that's important. Okay, so I can actually, there you go, just for our satisfaction. By the way, now, task number 9. I can tell him, yes, mark. Task 9 as completed. And by the way, even task 7. In fact, we can close it too, but first of all, actually, I would like to tell him, so I would like to actually also tell him mark this down, okay? I would like to ask him actually to improve the design a bit. So to finish, I will tell him to improve the design of the contact page. So actually on the design side, I would like with the design modern, and me, as I said, actually the design part I always have. I would always like to leave it for the very last, but well, it's not a big deal. In fact, we can do it right away. Just to show you how it works, the 10 ads, and if you have a page and you attach it, it will be great. But still, it's a system that is also capable of offering something interesting. So there you go. You have the possibility. Either you have something beautiful, you put it, or you can even ask it questions. You tell it, okay, how do you see the page? It goes into the suggestions. And then you say, okay, I'll take this one or I'll select that one. So here I launch it. So now we're going to let it work a little bit. You'll see that it will work a bit on the display of the design. As soon as it finishes, I will deploy and show you the result. There you go. Now it started. We're going to ask it to integrate the AI, but it will be very interesting to see a little bit the little description that is mentioned here. Here we specified that I wanted to use OpenAI with GPT-4 OpenAI. And here, my goal is to calculate the lead scoring and to be able to create what we call a generation strategy. So here, in fact, there is quite a bit of information that needs to be detailed here. Firstly, you need to give it what we call our API key. And this API key, it is necessary to require that this key be stored in an encrypted manner. Or sometimes we can use third-party tools to handle the API in another secure tool. And we call upon it whenever we need it. Because sometimes when we set the API in a non-encrypted way, it can cause a security issue. Because if that key is detected, for example, by a hacker, an operator who managed to attack the database, then as a result, they can use our API. In fact, they have consumed it because the API, every time it is used, incurs a charge. So that's one side of it. On the other hand, actually, I want the strategy part, the strategy generation, I want it to be on a button where when I click, it will display, in fact, then I can provide more details. But for now, we'll see how he will handle the programming. Will he ask me for the API or not? So here we'll let him take this first part. And you'll see he has a certain logic where he will obviously take steps to execute these tasks. And he will suggest to me, we'll see if he does it or not, but normally he will suggest to add the API, he will give me an example of output, and I will test it, tell him if it's okay or not, if I need to add a button or not. So, as a result, we will click to start this task, but what I recommend, if you really want to do something, of course, according to well-defined loads, is that you need a bit more data, more details in this task, meaning you click here, go back to the line, and you can enter the first note, second note, third note, and it will try to accept again. But for me, I would like to discover what it will propose to me here, so normally it will give me its reasoning here, so we will leave it. It is currently in working mode, which is very interesting. With this AI, it will give me a little bit of what it will do, so here, this is important. Look here. It told me it wants to install. Here is the OpenAI library it will create. In fact, here is the API, so that it can develop the endpoint and prepare for integration. So it says it actually needs to create the pivot and it is actually waiting for the worst. So if you look here, when I am dealing with the worst, it is retrieving it in an encrypted manner. And that's interesting. It means for it, when I copy it, I will put it here. It will keep it in an encrypted way. That's very interesting. By the way, I can ask it here if I want to know how to actually create the OpenAI stack. I will show you. Actually, it's very easy. So you go to Google, type OpenAI API, and then when you click there, you will see it will ask you to log in. If you are already logged in with your OpenAI account, you will find it here. You need to click on Dashboard. So when I click on the dashboard, you will see that here somewhere I have what we call the stack. So of course it is paid, but the one from TouchMBT with version 4 on Mini, actually it's the cheapest and fastest. This is what I actually recommend for this kind of situation. And generally you can, well, make a budget. So here in the donation, in the usage section actually, you will see that it obviously shows how much you consume, but generally it doesn't cost too much, meaning look here. For really less than $1, you can launch several reports and several actually surveys and reporting. Here it's not expensive, meaning for me, I think, for $5 you can run. In fact, the application has generated thousands of strategies per month. So to create the API, now it's simple. I click here. So key, now I will name it. There you go. We will call it CRM. I will click on create, of course, there the code. I will display it here, as you can see, but actually afterwards I will erase it. In fact, after the demonstration version of this video. But for you, it's very important to keep it. In a secret place, it should not be displayed. It's like a password. So here, I click on copy. I click down, so you will see that it has just been created. And if I come back here, I will simply paste the code there, and then I send it with send. And therefore, I don't need to save it. So now he is working on it so that he can, there you go, he said super. He retrieved the key, so now he is starting to develop the package. So I will let him while he finishes the preparation. The scoring part, I think it's easy to apply because the score, it will actually have the intelligence to read the entire user profile. I can go into detail to tell him how I want him to calculate the score, but regarding the score, actually I can let him handle that himself, but it's important to know in the literature, there are several models to calculate the score. So here is just a small article, in fact, where it explains what the models are that actually calculate the score. So, because there are algorithms today that have proven themselves, in fact today, AIs and actually LLMs know these models. So, as a result, each model, in fact, uses a specific system. Like, for example, there is the Oracle algorithm. So this is an algorithm, in fact, that works, that shows you. So that's how it applies to find the score. There's also Adabo, which has created a system, LidPilot as well. Each, of course, calculates based on history on several pieces of information. And then either you can take one of these models and apply it, ED or DE, you leave it. In fact, AI, to make the decision itself, according to the information, the data, and the history of your client. Because what is very important, remember here, if I look there, listen there, the summary of the communication, well, the last communication, it is very important here to include as much data as possible, to include all the data. And I can even include histories each time. I can put a date, and then when I come back to modify this line, I leave it and put a new date so that I will have the histories. But afterwards, you are free here to add similarly, but I prefer to group them all here because AI, in fact, has the power to read large text and make decisions. So if I go back there, I see that he has finished that task. Look, that's good. He displayed the score of a contact on its detailed sheet or in the contact list. That's good. So he understood where he's going to put it. And there he proposed a button to generate and display the strategy. So he understood that without me having to explicitly ask for it. So as a result, to test, we will just first test this. He has this behavior. So here we will let him finish a little bit and we will test right away. To actually see a little bit the result of this work, he has finished the deployment, so I will make the discovery with you, so I clicked here. We will try to go into contact. So the bed actually scores down here. Listen, I don't see the score, but maybe here we can, you click on view. I don't actually see where I'm going to see the nice weather and everything. So here I see nothing. Look here, I will use it once. I don't see how we're going to do it. I actually don't see the dashboard part. Not at all. So here, just before continuing the deployment, it's very important to look here. Actually, I only see him. In fact, he prepared what we call a spike, meaning the functions. But if I look closely, here, he just told me he's going to add a summary. Okay. The next logical step would be to integrate his nephews and spike into the front, meaning into the display. So at this point, it's very important to ask him to actually process this data. Would you like us to create a new task for? So here, he's actually asking to create a completely new task. So then I have a choice here. Either I ask him to create a new task or I tell him to continue this step. So I'm going to tell him here, look, continue. There, with. So now the next step. And here, I'm going to remove, actually, for example, because that's what I want him to do. There you go. So it will be good like that. So then he will continue. So now he is working. So then I understood that he will need even more time to do the display work. So then, there you go, we will let it be. He tells me, here is the recap. Ah, well, now he repeats, do you want me to do this in another step? Because for him, he sees it as if it were a new step. Come on, we will tell him, okay, create that in a new step. So he created step 10. As soon as he finishes, actually, we can already mark step 8 as completed. That way, he will be focused on that step, because here, he created, I think, a whole description. There you go, a whole description regarding that. That's very good. So now we will let them handle it and we wait. As soon as he finishes so that we can deploy and test the result. So now he just finished. So now I'm going to test. So therefore I will click on deploy. At the same time as he is deploying, we can actually see what he did as a summary. So there. He told me that if it exists, there you go. So there, in the section, see the contact he updated. So to display the strategy, he worked on the column and where it displays the score. And to add a calculate button, score as well, and generate strategy. That too is very interesting. The generated strategy is visible in the dialog box. See the contact. That's very good. Okay? And there you can test these functions. So there he gives me a little bit, a whole process. And then he tells me if it's finished or if I can still work on it. So what's very important already, task 8, that one, I can actually mark it as done. So that one, we won't need to work with it. We'll stay on this one and simply wait here for the deployment so I can see the visual and test it. So now the deployment has just been completed. So as a result, we're going to proceed. Of course, I clicked on deploy and now I'm going to launch. I'm going to go to contact and then I'm going to search, actually in action. So now we're going to test if the score will work or not, if the strategy will be created or not. There you go. So now we're going to test. We're going to see the result together a little bit. So I click. So now I see that it didn't display the score, but it told me that I might be able to see it here. So now when I click, there's a small display issue, but that's easy. We can fix it. So the strategy, it tells me there is no strategy. So what I'm going to do is click to generate the strategy. There you go. And now I'm going to click a second time, click on view. So now I don't see the result. What I'm going to do first, I'm going to tell it here, I'm going to do a cram print like this. So we will send the cram print so that it can improve that. So from here at this point, I tell it So we will start already. So send it to him. In fact, it's a first step. Okay. I will simply say fix the display issue. Once he finishes that, we will try to test, or rather ask in fact, to rework the score calculation and to rework the display part of the strategy. And we will deploy to see a little if it has been corrected or not. So here we will simply click here to see the result a little bit. So here, if I go to the contact, I have the score that works correctly. And here, if I click on the button, generate my strategy, so we will click on view. And there you go, I have the strategy that works correctly. So here, the strategy information tells him that I send an email. And then, in fact, I highlight, the importance of SEO for travel agencies. Because here, in fact, I have set up a travel agency site. And then it tells me to propose a follow-up call in 5 days to discuss. Here are the specific needs in terms of SEO. And this, in fact, is very, very interesting. It allows me, of course, there is the possibility here. If I want, I can throw it away here. In fact, here is some information, and I can ask it to regenerate the score or regenerate. In fact, because as I have new meetings with the client, I update the summaries with the new information. And so, as a result, the score can go up or down. For me, the higher my score reaches 100, the more the client and the shows are inclined to buy, whereas a low score means otherwise. This means that the client is not very interesting. And this, of course, allows for filtering and displaying. So in my dashboard, the information therefore here, in my system, I will mark it as completed. So, as a result, I completed all the steps I was asked to do, and afterwards I have the possibility to add new tasks to return to the design level, go back to the back office, add more functions, test, which is actually important. So here you have to be very careful. Test here, add new contacts, and perform tests on all, what we call searches, filters here, sorting. And this helps me a lot actually to manage here in my position a prospect of all types. So if I look, it's a lead. So here if I put lead, it displays. If I do something else, it doesn't display. So that works. But in any case, it was necessary to test thoroughly to be sure that the system does things correctly. And then I can export it either to an Excel file or of course a PDF file. And all this helps me a lot to achieve a beneficial result. So we managed to create the application, but afterwards regarding you, it will all depend on your K-charge. You just need to know that today, when working with an AI, the difference between AI and a real person is that AI, in fact, simply has the ability to have that patience. I really want to ask for things. If I ask to update a function or to change it or to fix it, a developer might take a few hours or even a few days, but AI takes just a few minutes, always just a few minutes. And I can really ask it to change functionalities infinitely. Unlike a human, it is limited by time, budget, etc. So with AI, it's much faster and it doesn't cost too much. Everything we've seen today hasn't exceeded more than $10. So among all the tokens we've consumed, and that's very interesting. In terms of cost, it's also in terms of production, and we see that in testing. If we update our CRM until we reach the version we want, not to mention that I always have this connection with the database. So here on my base, I have my storage. And I also have it in the Fire database here, everything we call the information related to the users. Every time I change them here, of course, an update is created, and it helps me tremendously to maintain my database. So I hope you actually enjoyed my training with some taboo topics. And if you want to go further, delve deeper into no-code with automations, just go here. On my website, I have prepared a package for you. You will see it there, which contains 100 hours. Here, there are 22 courses where I show you. Here are the automations, everything related to software, no code with several tools and several software programs. So for this entire package, you just need to enter your email address and add a promo code here, which thus is YT20. Thanks to this promo code, when you apply it, you will get a discount. So the pack is guaranteed 14 days. So you can simply test it. I'm sure you really like this kind of content. And once you have registered, you will have direct access to this interface. It's an interface where you will have access to all my courses inside. Once you are inside, you choose, for example, the type of application. For example, here you want to create a social media application. You just need to click there and you will find the course support and all the videos available. You just need, of course, to click and you will find me in the videos explaining the information and the data to you. There are a lot of very interesting courses that I invite you to discover. I thank you very much and see you soon for the next course. Thank you and goodbye.